everyone, welcome back to my project video. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Alfidian Sharifa. You can call me Dina. And today we will learn about language and linguistics. Before discussing the first material, what do you know about language? Language is commonly defined simple as a meaning of communication, but if it's defined so, there will be no difference between human communication and animal communication. The reason is because both animal and human do have means to communication. Next slide. The nature of language, quoted from experts. 1. Language is a specific humans that makes them different from other creatures, say animals and plants. Language is a main tool of communication. Language is a method of human communication, either spoken and written. Language, a system of conventional spoken, manual, or written symbols by means of which human beings, as members of a social group and participants, its culture express themselves. Language is a system of arbitrary vocal symbols used for human communication. So, language is a symbolic system in which words are associated with objects, ideas, and actions by convention. To be more scientific, a language can be defined as an arbitrary system of creative vocal symbols used as a means of communication among human beings. Let's see what is meant by arbitrary system, vocal symbols, creative, and means of communication as the characteristics of properties of human language. Next. A. Language is arbitrary. A language is arbitrary because the relationship between a vocal symbols in the sense of linguistics and the entity, states, events, or actions meanings of the vocal symbols cannot be proved logically. The term arbitrary does not mean that everything about language can be predictable, because the language of nature varies. When one person agrees to name an object, then form a language. So the language grows and development. Sometimes if there is no speaker, can be so he, she, can. It is an arbitrary. Its explanation like this: pay attention to this picture. Thank viewer by humans. We see this object, four-legged animal have snow and ivory. Then we see and become concept. Well, then we cite and then concept by our brain. Then here would be an object called elephant. When view is symbolic, sign, perception, concept, object, experience, object, sign, convention. Convention is arbitrary. Next, B. Language is vocal symbols. Considering a language as a construction of vocal symbols, we actually want to distinguish oral from written language. A language is originally oral or spoken vocal symbols. In other words, we can say that spoken language is the origin of a language. She describes, children grow up learning and speaking a language orally before learning to write. Even in this modern age, some people still cannot write, but they can communicate with a language. On the other hand, writing a written language is in the best touch of as a written representation of a language. One of the differences in characteristic between oral and written language is that written language tends to be prescriptive, that one thinks it or the language ought to be, but oral or spoken language is not prescriptive. C. Language is creative. No matter how well a dictionary of a language is designed and written, it will never contain all possible sentences that a human being, the speaker of language, can make and use for communication. Once we speak a language, say, our mother tongue, or native language, the components and rules of the language enable us to create infinite number or unlimited numbers of sentences. It enables us to make sentences and so forth. As illustration, the same word can be employed in so many different infinite number of sentences as exemplified with the following process. Next, 1. I eat rice, you eat bread. 2. The goats eat bread and cheese. Have you ever created or heard this possible sentence before? 3. They eat grass. 4. I eat rice, you eat bread, the goats eat cheese. They eat grass, dot, at, dot, dot, eat, dot, and so on. How many times can you repeat the word eat in the last sentence? How long can you make the sentence? The answer is it is infinite. Indeed, we create and heard new sentences in our language all the time in our everyday communication. Even we may have created and heard a sentence that had never been spoken or heard before, but we did not realize it. This is because a language is creative. Next, D. Language is a means of communication. Language is only one among other means of communication, but it's the most perfect means of communication possessed by human beings. The use of language as a means of communication is what distinguishes animal communication from the communication among human beings. Next, in mass sciences or structures, there are fables, legends, etc., where we are told that animals to play speaking role, not only among themselves but also with human beings. But can the fables or legends prove advance that animals do speak and have language, while human beings communicate with language? It's believed that animals simply communicate with their instinct, but this belief has not been approved empirically. Next, what is linguistics? Linguistics is the study of languages. The subject matter of linguistics is language. Next, traditionally, linguistics studies a language as a formal system consisting of four main branches, known as micro-linguistics. Besides the linguistics study which are supported as the interdisciplinary field of study that identity investigate and offer solutions to language-related real-life problems, called macro-linguistic or applied linguistic. And there are also some other linguistic branches. This is a chart linguistic. Next, furthermore, we will morely discuss about micro-linguistics, which are related to pure language studies such as phonology, the study of speech sound and their patterns; morphology, the study of word and word formation; syntax, the study of sentences structure; and the last, semantics, the study of meanings. Next slide. Medium. A language is described as an abstraction based of the linguistic behavior of its users. A normal children of all races learn to speak the language of their community, so speech has often been seen as the primary medium of language. The abstract system, which is language, can also be realized as writing. However, although speech and writing have much in common, they are not to be equated or hierarchically ordered. Between language and its mediums. Language abstraction. Medium concrete. Speech and writing. The diagram indicates that although speech and writing are essentially distinct, they can and do influence each other. An example of this is that pronunciation is often affected by spelling. A word like oven, for example, is frequently pronounced with a T because of affluence from the written medium. Next, the main differences between speech and writing. Speech, composition of sounds, make use of intonation, pitch, rhythm, tempo, produce infectiously natural, frequent, transitory or temporary, perceived by the ear, addressee present, imagery feedback, meaning helped by context, body movement, gestures, spontaneous, directly associative. For writing, composed of letter or signs, make use of punctuations and other graphological devices like italics, boldface, underline, and is on. Produced with effort, tools required. Relatively permanent, perceived by the eyes. Addressee absent, feedback delayed. Meaning must be made clear with the context, not spontaneous, indirectly associative. Okay, thank you for your attention. Sorry if there is a wrong word, and thank you, sir friends. And finally, thank you for watching until the end. Bye bye.